Hey dude, this is Jaden coming at you with a new Power Rangers segment. The last time I did this, like forever ago, I did Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. And I had to suffer through that. And the thing that helped was that I knew after I finished Lightspeed Rescue, I got to one of my top 5 favorite series, easy. And that is Power Rangers Time Force. Now, Time Force was a series I did not watch until I was much older. I did not watch Time Force when it was regular on TV because by that time in my childhood, I was pretty much Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, that's it. And Dragon Ball Z thrown in there, and that literally was it. And honestly, I didn't even know what channel this was on way back then. But this is easily one of the best series of Power Rangers, in my opinion, for many reasons. Now, I would love to go on and on about this series, but I literally can't because I try to keep all my videos under 15 minutes. So anyway, guys, I'm going to jump straight into this right quickly. The cast, again, like I've said, after In Space, they completely changed the cast year to year, and we did not see a return Ranger in the main cast of that series until Dino Thunder. So let's just go over the cast real quick. Jason Font was Wesley Collins. He was the Red Ranger. Aaron Cahill was Jennifer Scott's the Pink Ranger. Michael Copon was Lucas Kendall, which was the Blue Ranger. Deborah Phillips, which was Katie Walker, the Yellow Ranger. And Kevin Kleinsberg played Trip, the Green Ranger, who was one of my top 10 favorite Rangers. So anyway, set the stage for you. It is the year 3000, so it is 999 years in the future from the current date when this started. This was one thing I thought that was really cool because this series aired in 2001. This series opens up in the year 3000, and there's this bad guy named Rancic who looks like kind of a two-faced clone, kind of, only he wears like this metal mask, you know. Really, really cool looking bad guy in my opinion, and he was he was just cool because he seemed more just like a mad scientist, and he seemed the most human out of all the bad guys. And I think it was really good for the series because it showed kids there really are bad people out there. And I realized Divatox and Rita Repulsa were both technically human, but guys, come on, they did not look they didn't do things. I mean, Divatox lived in a submarine so far under the ocean, and she could just make monsters out of thin air like Rita. Now, this guy, he at least unfroze them, so to me, he seemed like the most realistic bad guy, and that's what I thought made him really cool. And He was probably one of my top 10 favorite evil guys from Power Rangers. He was really cool. Well, he's in the opening scene. It shows that he's being sentenced to cryogenic freezing, something like out of Star Wars and the Han Solo. And already the viewer, I'm imagining when they very first saw it, was like, okay, something's got to happen. He's got to get away, which is exactly what happens. He escapes custody. He kills the Red Ranger in the year 3000. So, following because Lost Galaxy was the first series that we ever saw a Power Ranger get killed. This series, we saw it too. The Red Ranger in the opening series, well, at least we thought he did. So, it was kind of yeah. I'm not going to spoil it for you. In the opening scene, I invite you to go back and watch Time Force if you're a Power Ranger fan. You will like it, even if you don't watch Power Rangers to this day. I promise you will like it. In the opening scene in one of them, we think that the Red Ranger dies. So anyway, the other 4 Rangers, who technically aren't even Rangers at that point, they're just policemen for Time Force. They get in this spaceship and they spin round, and they go 199 years into the future. They go all the way... God, I suck at math. They go all the way back to the year 2001. So they come to our present time, which I thought that was really cool to make reference to the actual time, because the kids who are watching it was going, wow, they're in 2001. We're in the year 2001. So they probably thought that was really cool. So I do give them props for that. And the reason they go all the way back to 2001 is when Ransik escapes custody, he goes, fine, since I can't rule Earth in this day and age, I will go back in time and run it. So, the four Rangers, Jennifer, Lucas, Katie, and Trip, they go back into the future, into the past, and to save Earth from Ransik. Now, when they get there, they don't have a leader. They stumble upon this guy, Wesley Collins. Now, Wesley Collins is that guy, and we all know one of these guys that literally grew up with a silver spoon in their mouths, and they have this... I find this really weird. 9 times out of 10 you can find a guy who comes from a rich family who like the actual son or daughter, they're generally nice people. But then the father's a dickhead, you know. And that kind of sums it up for this one. The Red Ranger, Wesley Collins, who is recruited into the Time Force by these other 4 people, his dad's a dick. Let's just say that. And the number one thing that creeps them out is Wesley Collins, the Red Ranger in 2001 that they recruit when they go back in time, looks exactly like the guy that died in the year 3000. So, it's kind of weird. So it makes them think, okay, is this kind of an ancestor thing? You know? But really cool. One thing that I also really liked about this series is, you know how every series you have like an alpha character? Well, in this one, they didn't have a robot. Well, they had a robot, but he was not a robot. He was a robot bird. He was like this big, and he was so freaking hilarious. His name was Circuit, and this is going to sound really weird, guys. He was one of the cutest things I've ever seen. He was like Trip's best friend. Now, like every series has your Special Ranger. Now, the Special Ranger for this series knew the Red Ranger very well. And by very well, I meant they were arch enemies. This is Wesley, who was always trying to be friends with this guy over here named Eric. But Eric was the guy who, I had to fight for everything. You got everything handed to you. We can't be friends. It's just not the way society works. So Eric, he was kind of a hard ass. Well, Eric ends up working for this police force called the Silver Guardians that work for, ironically, Wesley, the Red Ranger's father. So Eric is kind of trying to get the attention of his rival's dad. Why they tried to do this, I don't have any idea. I'm sorry. If I don't like you, I'm not going to try and get attention from your dad. So anyway, they are told that there is another power out there, and it's called the Quantum Morpher. Now, when they find the Quantum Morpher, Eric steals it, and he becomes the Quantum Ranger. And he is literally one of the coolest Special Rangers there ever was, and for a long time he was a complete dick. Well, eventually he comes around, and he's a good guy, and he teams up with the Rangers. And long story short, eventually, when Ransik makes his final attack on Earth, he somehow accidentally fires at his daughter, almost kills her. So Ransik's sad, I almost killed my daughter. So, very sad, he surrenders to the Rangers. They arrest him, and he's going to be taken back to the year 3000 to be frozen for good. And, you know, he's defeated. Now, the main thing throughout this whole series is Jennifer the Pink Ranger. She, at first, is extremely rude to Wes. Because she doesn't understand how Wes can look exactly like the Red Ranger from the year 3000, who was going to be her fiancé, looks so much like him. So, for a long time, she's a real jerk, and then she starts coming around, and then she starts to fall in love with him. This was really interesting to me, because we've seen Power Ranger romance before. Like, we saw Jason David Frank, Tommy, and Kimberly, like, together, like they were boyfriend girlfriend, but we didn't see it to this extent yet, and it was kind of cool, actually. I thought it was a really good story, because Time Force, it also kind of plays like a love story, and it's cheesy in parts. It's Power Rangers, so it's going to be cheesy, so you got to forgive them for that. But in the end, the very last episode before the four Rangers from the from the future have to go back to their own time. They have this very, very sappy romantic moment on the beach. I love you. I've loved you since I first saw you. You know, again, it's Power Rangers. So Jen, being that she's from the year 3000's, got to abandon the person that she really has fallen in love for, which is Wesley from the year 2001, and has to go all the way back into the year 3000, and will never be able to have him. And then Eric, the Quantum Ranger, and Wesley, the Red Ranger, stay behind and lead the Silver Guardians to protect Earth, since four of the Rangers have to go back to their own time. Well, that's pretty much a quick sum up of the series. It's a really good series. I mean, they live in this big tower that they call the Time Tower, and it's got this big freaking clock on it. And every time they call their Zords, they're having to time travel all the way from the year 3000 to come to them. I mean, it's really cool, guys. Time Force is easily one of the top 5 best series that Power Rangers has ever produced. And they have produced 20 seasons, so to say you're in the top 5 is pretty big. Time Force, also in my opinion, had one of the most badass theme songs. I will put... as you guys have been, I hope you've been watching, I've been putting in the comment, in the description, how that certain, whatever Ranger segment I'm doing, I always put the morphing sequence that goes along with that set of Power Rangers. In this description, I will not only put that, but I will also put a link to the theme song. It is really cool. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Comment, rate, subscribe. Thumbs up the video for me. Tell me if you remember Time Force. Tell me if you like Time Force. Tell me what you liked about it. In the comment section below, tell me something that you liked about the series Time Force if you watch it. If you do have Netflix, I invite you to go check it out. All the series of Power Rangers except Mega Force is up there. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe, thumbs up, and I'll see y'all later.